The last thing Michael said to me was, "I love you, Sandy." Not dramatic last words gasped out in a hospital room, just a casual goodbye as he left for work that rainy Tuesday morning. I never imagined those would be the final words I'd hear from my husband of 12 years. I'm Sandra, and this is the story of how my family tried to steal everything my husband left behind, including my dignity. The police said the truck driver never saw Michael's car in the downpour. It was quick, they assured me, as if that somehow made it better. I nodded numbly through their explanations, through the funeral arrangements, through the endless parade of casseroles and sympathy cards. Our house became impossibly quiet. I'd catch myself listening for his key in the door, his footsteps on the stairs, his laugh echoing from his home office. The silence was deafening. "Sweetheart, you can't stay here alone," Mum said, perched on my couch 3 weeks after the funeral. "Your father and I have discussed it. We're moving in to help you through this." I should have said no, but grief makes you vulnerable in ways you can't imagine until you're drowning in it. "I don't want to be a burden," I mumbled, staring at my cold coffee. "Nonsense," Mum squeezed my hand. "That's what family is for. We'll take care of everything." They moved in the following weekend. Dad immediately claimed the guest room as his temporary office, while Mum began reorganising my kitchen cabinets without asking. "This makes much more sense," she declared, putting the coffee mugs where the plates used to be. "Michael had everything so oddly arranged." I bit my tongue. Michael had organised our kitchen perfectly, everything within easy reach for our morning routine, but I was too exhausted to argue. The first red flag came a month later. I was sorting through bills when I noticed a transfer from our joint account, $25,000 to Chapman Ventures LLC. "Mum," I called out, frowning at the statement. "Did Michael mention anything about investing in Brady's new business before the accident?" She appeared in the doorway, drying her hands on a dish towel. "Oh, that? Yes, he was very excited about supporting Brady's latest venture. Such a promising opportunity." Something felt off. Michael had always been sceptical of my brother's business schemes, but maybe I was misremembering. Grief does strange things to your memory. Then Brady showed up in a brand new Tesla, all smiles and startup jargon. "Sandy, how's my favourite sister?" He hugged me too tight, smelling of expensive cologne. "Mum, Dad, the prototype testing is going amazing. The investors are practically throwing money at us." "That's wonderful, honey," Mum beamed. "See, Sandra, your brother is going places." Michael knew talent when he saw it. I forced a smile, but my stomach churned. Brady's ventures had a history of going nowhere except into debt. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something nagged at me about that transfer. I logged into our online banking and started digging deeper. There it was. Another transfer, $50,000 this time, dated 2 weeks after Michael died. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. The signature on the authorization form was Michael's, but it couldn't be. He was already gone. "Just checking our accounts?" Mum's voice made me jump. I hadn't heard her come up behind me. "This transfer," I said carefully, "it's dated after Michael's death." "Oh, that," she waved dismissively. "We found the paperwork in Michael's office. He'd arranged it before. Well, your father just helped push it through." "But the signature—" "Sweetheart," she cut me off, her voice taking on that familiar, condescending tone. "You're still grieving. Let us handle the financial matters. Michael would have wanted to help your brother succeed." She patted my shoulder and left me alone with the glowing screen, my throat tight with unshed tears. But something else was building beneath the grief, something hot and sharp and dangerous. Because I knew Michael's signature, I'd seen it thousands of times over our years together, and the one on that transfer form? It wasn't his. I closed the laptop quietly and went to bed, my mind racing. Mum and Dad thought I was too broken to notice, too lost in grief to care. Maybe that's exactly what I needed them to keep thinking. Tomorrow, I decided, I would call my old law school friend Zuriel. And then? Well, then we'd see just how far my family's help had really gone. It's not just one transfer, Zuriel, I whispered into my phone from inside my parked car. The garage was the only place I could talk without Mom hovering nearby. There are at least 3 more I've found, all with his signature, all after he died. Send me everything, Zuriel replied, her voice sharp with lawyer mode intensity. Bank statements, transfer authorizations, everything. And Sandra, don't confront them yet. Let's build our case first. I ended the call just as Mum tapped on my car window, making me jump. What are you doing out here? She asked as I rolled down the window. We're about to have dinner. Brady's coming over to share his big news. Of course he was. Brady and his endless big news that always seemed to require more funding. The dining room table was set with Mum's best china, the set she'd brought from home naturally, because mine wasn't suitable for family dinners. Brady arrived fashionably late, practically bouncing with excitement. The prototype is almost ready, he announced, helping himself to seconds before anyone else had finished firsts. Just needs a few tweaks, then we're going public. Sandy, you won't believe the projections. That's wonderful, honey, Mom beamed. Isn't it wonderful, Sandra? I pushed my food around my plate. How much did the prototype cost? The table went quiet. Dad suddenly became very interested in his green beans. Now, Sandra, Mum's voice had that warning edge, your brother's business isn't your concern. It is when it's being funded with my husband's money. Brady's fork clattered against his plate. What's that supposed to mean? I saw the transfers, Mum, all of them, Michael's signatures dated weeks after he died. Sweetheart, Mum's smile was razor thin. You're confused. Michael wanted to help Brady. He told us himself. When? What? When did he tell you? Because the last time Brady pitched him an investment, Michael said he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Brady's face flushed. That's not... He said your business plans were like throwing money into a black hole. Sandra! Mum slammed her hand on the table. That's enough. You don't need all that money anyway. You're just one person now, and Brady has real potential. Real potential to waste more of my dead husband's savings? Dad finally spoke up, voice quiet. We're just trying to help the family. By forging signatures? That's not help, Dad. That's fraud. Mum's face went white. How dare you accuse us? I dare because I have proof. I stood up, my chair scraping back. Every transfer, every forged document, every cent you've stolen since Michael died? Did you think I wouldn't notice, or did you just think I was too broken to care? Sit down, Mum hissed. You're being hysterical. No, I'm being robbed by my own family. Brady laughed, but it sounded hollow. Come on, Sandy, don't be dramatic. Look, when this goes public, I'll pay everything back double, triple. The investors are already... What investors, Brady? The same ones from your last 3 failed startups? You know what your problem is. He stood too, towering over me. You're jealous. You've always been jealous of my success. What success? I shot back. Name one venture that didn't end in bankruptcy. Enough! Mum's shriek made us all jump. Sandra, go to your room until you can behave civilly. I stared at her, incredulous. Go to my room, in my own house? This family is trying to help you, she said, through clenched teeth, if you can't appreciate that. Help me? I laughed, and it sounded strange even to my ears. You're not helping me. You're stealing from me while I grieve for my husband. I walked out of the dining room, their protests following me up the stairs. In my bedroom, my own bedroom, in my own house, I pulled out my phone and texted Zuriel. It's worse than we thought. How soon can we move on this? Her reply came instantly. Meeting tomorrow with the bank manager. Don't pack anything yet, but be ready. And Sandra, you're doing the right thing. I lay back on my bed, listening to the heated whispers downstairs. Mum's sharp voice, Dad's placating murmur, Brady's indignant protests. They thought they had me under control. The grieving widow, too, lost in her pain to fight back. They had no idea what was coming. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Zuriel. Bring every document you can find. Every receipt, every bank statement, every piece of paper with Michael's signature. We're going to nail them to the wall." For the first time since Michael died, I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but it felt right. Cecilia, the bank manager, spread the documents across her desk, her expression growing darker with each page she examined. "Mrs. Russell, these signatures, they're not even good forgeries. Look here." She pointed to a transfer authorization. "The M is completely different from your husband's signature card." $170,000, Zuriel said, tapping her pen against her legal pad. "That's the total so far, and we're still finding more transfers." I felt sick. That was more than I'd imagined, nearly half of what Michael had left me. "The thing is," Cecilia continued, "most of these transactions were processed by the same teller. She remembers your father specifically, said he came in with all the paperwork already filled out." "Of course he did," I muttered. Dad had always been Mum's clean-up crew, handling the messy details of her schemes. My phone buzzed. A text from Mum. "Brady's having a small gathering in the backyard tonight. Professional networking. Wear something nice." I showed the message to Zuriel, who raised an eyebrow. "A party? At your house? Did they even ask?" "They never ask any more." I turned to Cecilia. "What's our next step?" "First, I'm freezing all accounts immediately. No more transfers without your in-person authorization. Second," she pulled out a form, "we're filing a formal fraud report." The rest of the afternoon was a blur of signatures and statements. Real signatures this time. By evening, I returned home to find my backyard transformed into a start-up networking event, complete with fairy lights and catered appetizers. "Sandy!" Brady waved me over to a group of suited investors. "Come meet the team. They're very interested in our blockchain-enabled sustainable agriculture platform." I plastered on a smile, accepting a glass of wine I didn't want. The investors looked exactly like Brady's previous marks. Eager faces, expensive watches, desperate to get in early on the next big thing. "Your brother tells us you're an early investor," one man said. "Smart move. The projections are incredible." "Oh?" I sipped my wine. "And how much of my investment has he used so far?" Brady's smile flickered. "Sandy, maybe we should—" $170,000, I announced. "That's how much he's taken, without my knowledge or consent." The investor's smile vanished. "Excuse me?" "Tell them, Brady. Tell them where their seed money really came from." "She's grieving," Brady said quickly, steering me away from the group. "Still processing her loss, you know how it is. Sandy, what the hell are you doing?" "What am I doing? You're throwing a party in my backyard with money you stole from my dead husband. Keep your voice down." He gripped my arm. "Look, I know you're upset, but this is important. These investors need to know they're buying into fraud." "It's not fraud. It's family helping family, and once this takes off—" I jerked my arm free. "Like your app that was going to revolutionize dog walking, or the cryptocurrency for dental hygienists. How many failures before you stop stealing from everyone around you?" "You know what?" His face was red now, either from anger or the wine. "Here." He pulled out his wallet and threw a $100 bill at me. "There's your widow's grief fund for the day. Buy yourself something nice and stop ruining my business meetings." The backyard went quiet. Even the crickets seemed to pause. I picked up the bill slowly, smoothing it between my fingers. "Thanks, Brady. I'll add it to the evidence file." "The what?" "The fraud investigation. The police should be very interested in this little party. All these investors you're courting with stolen money." The colour drained from his face. "You wouldn't." "I already have." I turned to the stunned investors. "I'd get your lawyers on the phone if I were you. The federal investigation starts Monday." The exodus was immediate. Investors grabbed their coats and briefcases, practically tripping over each other to leave. Brady stood frozen, his perfect pitch meeting crumbling around him. Mum came rushing out. "What's happening? Why is everyone leaving?" "Sandra," Brady's voice cracked, "please, you can't do this to me." "I'm not doing anything to you, Brady. You did this to yourself." I headed inside, but turned back one last time. "Oh, and Mom? The next party you throw in my backyard, Better be to celebrate your moving out. I went upstairs to my room, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone to text Zuriel. It's done. They know I know. Her response was immediate. Good. Now the real fun begins. Meeting tomorrow at 9. Bring coffee. We're going to need it. I lay back on my bed, listening to the chaos below. Mum's shrill demands for explanations, Brady's panicked calls to fleeing investors, Dad's heavy footsteps pacing the floor. For the first time in months, the house didn't feel haunted by grief. It felt charged with something else, something that felt surprisingly like justice. The police want to interview me. Mum's voice carried through the heating vent into my bedroom. This is ridiculous. We're family. I pressed record on my phone, tucked safely under my pillow. Every conversation was evidence now. Nadine, please. Dad's voice trembled. Keep your voice down. Sandra might hear. Let her hear. After everything we've done for her, this is how she repays us? By sicking lawyers on her own family? I slipped out of bed and got dressed, carefully selecting my most professional outfit. Zuriel was picking me up in 20 minutes for our meeting with the detective. Mum intercepted me at the bottom of the stairs. We need to talk. Actually, I have an appointment. Cancel it. Her fingers dug into my arm. This little tantrum of yours has gone far enough. I pulled free. Tantrum? Is that what you call reporting fraud? We're your parents. Everything we did was to help this family. You forged my dead husband's signature to steal his money. That's not help. That's a felony. Dad appeared from the kitchen, wringing his hands. Princess, please, we can work this out privately. No need for police or lawyers. Really? I pulled out my phone and showed them the banking app. Because the fraud department seems very interested in how Brady's been moving money offshore to dodge taxes. Mum's face went white. That's not... And the VA investigators are especially curious about the forged signatures on Michael's veteran benefits. The VA? Dad swayed slightly. But that's federal. Federal crimes, I agreed. Funny how that works. A car horn beeped outside, Zuriel right on time. Don't do this, Mum grabbed my wrist. Brady's future is exactly what he deserves. I yanked free. And so is yours. The detective's office was cold and impersonal, but Zuriel's presence beside me made it bearable. Let me get this straight, Detective Morris said, flipping through the file. They moved in after your husband's death, then systematically drained his accounts? Yes, I handed over a USB drive. Those are recordings of my mother admitting to the transfers and text messages about the offshore accounts. Very thorough, he nodded. The bank manager? Cecilia? She's already provided quite a paper trail. Your father's been busy at that branch. My phone buzzed. Brady, please stop this. I'll pay it back. I swear on Mum's life. I showed it to Zuriel, who snorted. Add it to the evidence pile. Admission of guilt. The rest of the day was a blur of statements and signatures. By evening, Zuriel dropped me off with a thick envelope. Restraining order, she said, and eviction notice. They have 72 hours. They won't go quietly. They will when the police show up. She squeezed my hand. You're doing great, Sandra. Michael would be proud. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. A note on the kitchen counter read, Gone to Brady's. We need to discuss your behaviour as a family. I crumpled it and headed upstairs, only to freeze in the doorway of my bedroom. Every drawer was open, my desk ransacked, papers scattered everywhere. Mum had been searching my room. I laughed out loud. The important documents were all safely stored at Zuriel's office. All they'd find here were old grocery lists and sympathy cards. My phone rang. Cecilia from the bank. Sandra, we've got a problem. Your mother just tried to access the safety deposit box. Michael's box? She doesn't have authority. Exactly. She had another forged document. We've alerted the police, but... Sandra, she was looking for his will. Ice ran through my veins. The will? Of course. They thought they could challenge it, claim Michael wasn't of sound mind. I hung up and immediately called Zuriel. Already on it, she answered before I could speak. The will's ironclad, and their little search attempt just gave us grounds for an emergency restraining order. The police are serving it tonight. I sank onto my bed, surrounded by the chaos of their searching. They're going to lose everything, aren't they? They did this to themselves, Sandra. Remember that. After we hung up, I walked through my ransacked room, picking up scattered photos. One caught my eye, my college graduation. Mum beaming at Brady in his new car, while I stood alone in my cap and gown, holding my summa cum laude certificate that no one had noticed. My phone buzzed again. Dad, please, Princess, your mother's crying. Just talk to us. I blocked his number. Another buzz. Detective Morris. Officers en route to serve papers. Stay somewhere else tonight if possible. I packed a small bag and called Zuriel. As I waited for her on the porch, police cars turned onto my street, lights flashing. It was really happening, no going back now, and strangely, I felt nothing but relief. The police cruiser's lights painted my front yard in alternating red and blue as I watched from Zuriel's car. Dad came out first, hands raised like he was surrendering. "Officers, there must be some mistake," he stammered. "We're her parents." Mum stormed out behind him. "This is absurd! Sandra, I know you're out there." I slid lower in my seat as Zuriel squeezed my hand. "You don't have to watch this." "Yes, I do." The officers were professionally calm, explaining the restraining order and eviction notice. Mum's voice rose higher with each passing moment. "We have rights. We've been living here." "Without a lease or legal permission," one officer interrupted. "You have 1 hour to collect essential belongings. The rest can be retrieved with an escort within 72 hours. Brady's Tesla screeched up to the curb. He jumped out, still wearing his investor impression suit. "What's going on, Mum?" "Your sister," Mum spat the word like poison, "is having us arrested." "No one's being arrested," the officer corrected. "Yet. But if you don't comply with the order—" "Sandy!" Brady spotted Zuriel's car. "Sandy, come on, we can talk about this." I finally stepped out of the car. The officer moved between us as Brady tried to approach. "That's close enough, sir. She has a protection order against all of you." "Protection? From what? We're trying to help her." "Help me?" My voice carried across the lawn. "You stole from me while I was grieving my husband. I was going to pay it back. The investors—" "Are all filing complaints with the SEC?" Zuriel called out, coming to stand beside me. "Apparently, they don't appreciate finding out their seed money came from fraud." Mom sagged against Dad. "Roland, do something!" Dad looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Princess, please. I was just trying to keep the peace. Your mother, you know how she gets." "Don't you dare blame this on me." Mum straightened up. "Everything I did was for this family." "No," I said quietly. "Everything you did was for Brady. It's always been for Brady." "That's not true. My college graduation. You left early because Brady had a date, my wedding. You complained the whole time about the money that could have gone to Brady's first startup. Even at Michael's funeral, you were bragging to people about Brady's new business plan. Because he has potential. And I don't? I graduated top of my class, built my own design firm, married a wonderful man, and none of it was ever good enough." The officers shifted uncomfortably. One checked his watch. 45 minutes remaining. Mum's face crumpled into tears. "Sandra, baby, please, we're your parents. We love you." "No, you love what you can take from me." Brady tried a different approach. "The investors are pulling out. Everything I've worked for." "You mean everything you stole for?" "I'll be ruined." "You ruined yourself, Brady. I'm just making sure you pay for it." They had to pack quickly, stuffing clothes and essentials into garbage bags, because Mum's precious suitcases were at their real house, the one they'd abandoned to take over mine. The officers supervised every moment, making sure they didn't take anything that wasn't strictly theirs. "Your mother's jewellery box." One officer held it up. "That's mine," Mum snapped. "It was Michael's grandmother's," I corrected. "Given to me at our wedding." Mum's face twisted, but she couldn't argue. The evidence was in our wedding video. As they loaded their bags into their cars, Dad made one last attempt. Sandra, honey, think about what people will say. The scandal. The scandal of what? A daughter protecting herself from theft? Go ahead, tell everyone. Tell them how you forged documents, stole from a widow, laundered money through Brady's fake companies. See how that works out for you. They drove away in a sad little convoy. Dad's sensible sedan, Mum's luxury SUV, Brady's soon-to-be repossessed Tesla. The officers waited until they were gone before turning to me. "We'll have a car drive-by regularly for the next few days," one said kindly, "just in case." After they left, Zuriel helped me change the locks. We ordered pizza and sat on my kitchen floor, the house finally, blessedly quiet. "You did good today," she said, passing me a slice. "Then why do I feel so—" "Guilty. Don't. They earned this. Every bit of it." My phone buzzed with a text from Cecilia. "Just got a call from another bank. Your brother tried to open new accounts. They've been flagged for fraud investigation." I showed it to Zuriel, who smiled grimly. "The dominoes are falling. Ready for what comes next?" I took a bite of pizza, tasting real food for what felt like the first time in months. "What comes next?" "Justice," she said simply. "Pure, legal, documented justice." And sitting there on my kitchen floor, in my quiet house, I was finally ready for exactly that. The local news broke the story on a Tuesday morning. "Prominent family accused of defrauding widow" blazed across my phone screen as I sipped my coffee. By lunch, it was trending on social media. "Don't read the comments," Zuriel warned during our lunch meeting. I already had. Most people were supportive, outraged on my behalf. Others, well, there's always someone ready to defend the indefensible. "Your father sent another letter," Zuriel said, sliding a sealed envelope across the table. "Want me to add it to the pile?" I stared at Dad's familiar handwriting. "What's he saying this time?" "Same as the others. It's all your mother's fault. He was powerless to stop her. He's sorry. He misses his little princess." She made a gagging sound. "Want me to shred it?" "No." I tucked it into my bag. "Evidence is evidence." My phone buzzed. Cecilia again. "Turn on the news, now." The restaurant's TV was already showing it. Brady being led out of the international terminal in handcuffs, his perfect hair dishevelled, his investor impression suit wrinkled. "Attempted to flee the country," the reporter was saying, after investigators uncovered evidence of offshore accounts containing millions in fraudulently obtained funds. Sources say, "Well," Zuriel said mildly, "that's going to complicate his defence strategy." My phone exploded with notifications. Mum calling, Dad calling, unknown numbers, probably reporters. I silenced them all. "You okay?" Zuriel asked softly. "I should feel something, right? Sad, angry, but I just feel—" "Relieved?" "Empty." The maitre d' approached our table nervously. "Miss Sandra, there's a woman outside insisting on speaking with you. She says she's your mother." "She's not allowed within 500 feet of this building." Zuriel stood up. "I'll handle it." Through the restaurant's window, I watched Mom trying to push past Zuriel, mascara running down her face. Even without audio, I could read her lips. "That's my daughter in there! My daughter!" The police arrived within minutes. Mum left in the back of a patrol car, charged with violating the restraining order. Back at my house, I found another letter in my mailbox. Not from Dad this time, from my mother's sister, Laura. "Sandra, I saw the news. I'm so sorry. I should have said something years ago. The way they treated you, the way they always favoured Brady. I knew it was wrong. I just never thought it would go this far. If you need anything, a witness, a statement about past behaviour, I'm here." I called her immediately. "They did the same thing to me," Laura said after I thanked her. 20 years ago. Mum and Dad died, left me the house. Nadine convinced me Brady needed it more for his first business. I've been renting ever since." "Why didn't you fight back?" "Because they were family," she sighed. "I wish I'd had your courage." That evening, Zuriel brought over more files. "The investigators found something interesting in Brady's offshore accounts. Seems your brother's been running this scam for years. Other victims are coming forward." "Victims?" 3 other recent widows, all with the same story. Brady gets close during their grief, gains access to accounts, transfers funds to his ventures. Your parents helped with all of them. My stomach lurched. How much? Over 2 million total. She spread out photographs of the other women. They're all willing to testify. I stared at their faces. Women like me, lost in grief, targeted by my own family. Will they get their money back? Some. The offshore accounts are frozen, and your parents' assets. Take it all, I said. Everything they have. Give it to those women. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Local entrepreneurs' parents arrested for conspiracy to commit fraud. I clicked the link. There they were, Mum and Dad in matching handcuffs being led out of their house. Their real house, not mine. Mum's face was contorted in rage. Dad just looked broken. Still nothing? Zuriel asked, watching my expression. I thought I'd feel vindicated, or sad, or something. I closed the news app. But they're just strangers now, criminals I used to know. That's okay too. She squeezed my shoulder. Healing isn't always about forgiveness. Later that night, I sat in Michael's old office, surrounded by his things I'd finally felt strong enough to sort through. His coffee mug still had a lipstick mark from where I'd kissed it. His sweater still smelled like him. I got them, baby, I whispered to his photo, just like you always said I could. I got them. My phone buzzed one last time. Another news alert. Breaking. 4th victim comes forward in widow's fraud case. I turned off my phone, wrapped myself in Michael's sweater, and finally let myself cry. Not for the family I'd lost, but for the strength I'd found. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension as I straightened my blazer. 6 months of investigations, depositions, and sleepless nights had led to this moment. Ready? Zuriel touched my arm gently. No. Yes, I don't know. Just tell the truth. That's all you need to do. The courtroom doors opened. Mum and Dad sat at one table with their lawyer, Brady at another with his. Mum wore her best suffering mother expression. Brady had gone for repentant son in a suit 2 sizes too big, making him look younger, more vulnerable. I took the stand, swore to tell the truth, and faced the prosecutor. Miss Sandra, please tell us about the days following your husband's death. I kept my voice steady. My parents offered to help. I was grieving, vulnerable. They moved into my house and slowly took control of everything. My home, my accounts, my life. And the transfers to your brother's companies. They forged my late husband's signature on multiple documents. The first transfer was dated 3 weeks after his death. Objection, Brady's lawyer stood. My client had no knowledge of the forged signatures. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. I detailed every transaction, every forged document, every confrontation. Mum's face grew harder with each word. Dad stared at his hands. And what was their response when you discovered the fraud? They said I didn't need the money, that Brady's potential was more important than my grief, that family helps family. Did they help the other victims the same way? Mum's lawyer jumped up. Objection, speculation. Sustained. But the damage was done. The jury had seen the photos of the other widows, heard their testimony. They knew. The prosecutor shifted tactics. Tell us about growing up with your brother Brady. Everything was always about Brady, his dreams, his potential, his needs. When I graduated college with honours, they left early because Brady had a date. At my wedding, they complained about the cost because Brady needed start-up money. And after your husband's death, they saw an opportunity. A grieving widow distracted by loss with access to accounts they could drain for Brady's latest schemes. Brady's lawyer tried to paint him as a victim too, manipulated by our parents, unaware of the forged documents, planning to repay everything once his business succeeded. Is that why you tried to flee the country? The prosecutor asked him directly. Brady's face crumpled. I panicked. With $5 million in offshore accounts? Objection? Withdrawn. When it was Mum's turn to testify, she played every card she had. We were protecting her, she insisted, tears flowing. Sandra was always so fragile. We knew her husband's money would attract predators. We were keeping it safe in Brady's business. By forging documents. Roland handled the paperwork. I just wanted to help my children. Both children or just Brady? Objection. Withdrawn. Dad's testimony was worse. He crumbled under questioning, admitting to everything, blaming Mom, blaming himself, begging for mercy. I just wanted peace in the family, he kept saying. I just wanted everyone to be happy. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. On the charge of criminal fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of theft by deception? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud? Guilty. The judge's sentence came down like hammer blows. Brady, 5 years in federal prison. Assets seized, restitution ordered. Mum, 3 years in prison, assets seized, restitution ordered. Dad, 2 years in prison, assets seized, restitution ordered. As they were led away, Mum turned to me one last time. Sandra, please, I'm your mother. No, I said clearly, my voice carrying in the hushed courtroom. You're just someone who gave birth to me. A mother would have protected me, not stolen from me while I grieved. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I stepped up to the microphones, Zuriel beside me. To anyone else out there being manipulated, stolen from or abused by family, speak up, fight back. Blood doesn't excuse crime. Love doesn't justify theft. And family, real family, doesn't prey on grief. A woman approached me as the crowd dispersed. Your story, it gave me courage. I'm leaving my parents' house tomorrow. They've been stealing my disability checks for years. More people came forward, sharing similar stories. Zuriel collected their information, promising help. That evening, I visited Michael's grave for the first time since the funeral. I placed fresh flowers and sat on the cool grass. It's done, baby. They can't hurt anyone else now. A warm breeze rustled the flowers, and for the first time since his death, I felt peace, not from forgiveness, but from justice served. My phone buzzed. Zuriel. Another victim coming forward, ready to help? I smiled, touching Michael's headstone one last time before standing. Always. The small cottage by the ocean smelled of fresh paint and new beginnings. Zuriel helped me carry in the last box while sea breeze rustled through open windows. Michael would have loved this place, she said, setting down a box labelled kitchen. He always wanted a garden. I gestured to the small plot I'd started outside. Tomatoes are already coming in. My phone buzzed. Another message from the support group I'd started for victims of family financial abuse. 20 members had grown to over 200. Sandra, meeting tonight? Texted Maria, one of the first widows Brady had targeted. 2 new members need advice about pressing charges. I'll be there, I replied, bringing cookies. Zuriel picked up a stack of mail. Letter from the prison? Brady or Mom? Both, actually, and your dad. I took the letters, feeling their weight. Not just paper weight, but the weight of expectations, guilt, manipulation, all the old familiar tools they'd tried to use even from behind bars. Want me to stay while you read them? I shook my head. I've got this. Brady's letter was predictably self-serving. I've changed. Prison has shown me the error of my ways. When I get out, I have this amazing business idea. I fed it to the paper shredder I'd bought specifically for prison mail. Mum's was worse. How could you do this to your family? I gave you life. Your father cries himself to sleep every night. The other inmates treat us like criminals. Shredder. Dad's was different. No excuses, no manipulation. Just, I failed you, not just now, but your whole life. I can't undo it. I won't ask forgiveness. Just know I finally understand what I did wrong. This one I kept. The doorbell rang. Cecilia stood there with a housewarming plant and a file folder. The last of the restitution paperwork, she said, handing me both. All the victims have been repaid from the seized assets and, she smiled, your parents' house sold at auction. Guess who bought it? Maria? She's turning it into a shelter for women escaping financial abuse. I laughed at the poetry of it. Mum's precious house, her symbol of status, transformed into a refuge for the very people she'd helped victimize. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Brady attempts prison business scheme, loses commissary privileges. Some people never learn, Zuriel said, reading over my shoulder. But some people do, I replied, thinking of the growing support group, the women finding their voices, their strength. I walked out to my small garden, breathing in salt air and possibility. The tomato plants were strong, reaching for sunlight. Michael had always said I had a green thumb, even when I doubted myself. A car pulled into my driveway. Laura, Mum's sister, carrying a box. Found these in my attic, she said. Photos from before, everything. When we were actually a family, thought you might want to decide what to do with them. We sat on my new porch, sifting through memories. Mum looking young and happy, before status and greed consumed her. Dad teaching me to ride a bike, before he became her enabler. Brady and me building sandcastles, before golden child and scapegoat roles poisoned everything. What will you do with them? Laura asked. I gathered the photos and walked to the fire pit Michael had wanted to build. Now it was finally here, ready for its first fire. Make room for new memories, I said, striking a match. We watched the past curl and burn while the sun set over the ocean. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Maria. 2 more women left their abusive families today. They're safe at the shelter. Thank you for showing us how to fight back. I looked at my aunt, the only family member who'd chosen truth over loyalty. Stay for dinner? I'm trying one of Michael's recipes. I'd love to. Inside, the cottage glowed warm and welcoming. My new life, built from the ashes of betrayal. On the wall hung a single photo, Michael and me on our wedding day, both of us laughing at some forgotten joke. Below it, a small plaque read, Justice isn't peace, but sometimes peace needs justice first. You know what Michael would say right now? Zuriel asked, opening wine. That I'm stronger than I think. That, and I told you so. We laughed, and it felt right. Not perfect, not completely healed, but right. My phone lit up with messages from support group members, each one a reminder that from great betrayal can come greater purpose. To justice, Zuriel raised her glass. To peace, Laura added. To new beginnings, I said, feeling Michael's presence in every corner of this home he would have loved. Outside, waves crashed against the shore, constant and cleansing, like truth, like justice, like healing.